share my screen. Okay, you are here to talk about what is going on in the world of email, and I'm going to take you through all of that. You know, sometimes when you go to sessions about different marketing tactics, you'll hear the presenter share information from a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't do that because that's useless. Everything is always changing. Some people think that email is a legacy channel. Some people even say email is dead. I don't like those people because those people are not keeping up and trying the latest and the newest things. Okay, email is actually having among its best performance it's ever had in the history of the channel, and lots of little things are making impact. So I'm going to go through really fast because that's what I do. I talk really fast. I'm going to go through lots of tips and stats and things. So I just want to share with you where my data comes from. So my agency, Outcome Media, we work with both business and consumer clients, and we don't own any data or any platforms. We use them all. And on behalf of our clients, in the last 12 months, we've sent out 6 billion email messages, and we have a research division that aggregates in real time trends that we're seeing. And we don't just do email. We do direct mail and podcast advertising and all sorts of demand gen. That's what we do. So we aggregate all the data on the email side, though, and we come out with these stats. That is where my information is coming from. Who cares? Enough about me. That's not why you're here. Okay. My goal is to give you a lot of anxiety because I talk too fast. Beyond anxiety, I want to give you some tips and some ideas. So if I rattle off 15 different tips and you test them all and 5 of them work, you might say that guy Jay was annoying and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that may in fact be true. But you also might say, hey, cool. I got some new test ideas that I could try. And that is literally my goal. What can we do as soon as you stop watching that's going to have a big impact? So in email, the beautiful thing about email marketing, okay, is that you can test things that cost nothing to try. They take 5 minutes or less to set up, that can work regardless of what platform you're using. And yet things are always changing. So there's always new things to test. What's the right day of the week, the time of the day? Am I using the friendly from? What about the subject line or the pre-header? What about personalization? Am I using the right content, right? All of these things you can tweak and test. And this is the secret sauce of email marketing. It's a lot of little things. There's never one thing that you're going to do that's going to make it all work. It's a lot of testing of little things and staying up to date on what are the new things that are working. So let's talk, for example, right out of the gate, let's get into it. Personalization. Okay, personalization. If you rewind 2 or 3 years ago, and you could even go ahead and Google, you'll probably find 100 articles that say the opposite of what I'm saying because they rely on old information. People would say, okay, if you personalize the subject line, you're going to see a boost in performance, right? So every marketer started doing this. And you get all these emails that have your name in the subject line, J, comma, check out our webinar, J, comma, here's a new piece of content to download. And it worked for a while, but now everybody does it. And it's not really interesting to see your own name in the subject line anymore. That is not email personalization that works. Here's the email personalization that does phenomenally well. If you listen to nothing else that I talk about during this session, focus on this because this one element can literally change all of your performance and will increase the number of people opening up your messages. Okay, so when you see things like just for marketers, marketer being the personalization, is Acme Corp at risk? That's personalization with a company name. Congrats on your growing SMB. That's personalization based on the size of your business. Enterprise HR pros know this. Construction industry pitfalls to avoid. That's industry personalization. So we talk about personalization. The name is not it. It's everything else about that person or their business, okay? The secret sauce to email, the way you get more people to open up your emails, okay, is to do this one thing. The faster you could tell the person who they are, the sooner they start to engage. So when you can tell the person in the subject line exactly who they are, okay, they open up your email. So when the subject line includes any of the following, it increases open rates. And real quick about open rates, you send out 100,000 emails, 20,000 people open up the email, you have a 20% open rate, okay? That's how many people open your emails. Now, people will say open rates are meaningless because there's Apple, iOS, whatever, and there's bots, and there's preview window, whatever, and I tell those people that makes no sense. Open rates are Hugely important. Why? Why are they so important? They're not important because, yes, if you send out 100,000 and your tracking report says 21,212 people opened it, is that in fact true? No, it's not. There's too much stuff going on out there with bots and Apple and all this stuff. But if you do an A/B test and in one subject line, okay, 50% of the audience you put in there for construction professionals only. And in the other subject line, you say, check out our webinar. You don't mention the industry that they're in. And the one where you do mention the industry gets a 35% open rate. The one where you don't mention the industry gets a 20% open rate. You know that the one that mentioned the industry got a lift because of the test that you did, right? It's directional information. It's almost like doing a poll, like a Gallup poll of your testing idea. So when people say open rate is dead, it makes no sense, right? And so here we're looking at, by putting the industry of the person that you're marketing to in the subject line, it lifts that open rate on average by 28%. If you put their title or function, right, for HR pros only, right, for IT security professionals, you put that in the subject line, lifts by 34%. Company size, this is for enterprise organizations. This is for small businesses. When you put the company name in the subject line, if I got an email that says, is Outcome Media at risk? I'm opening up that email. Or Outcome Media needs to know this, ... I'm opening up that email. All of these things are personalization. And what you're doing is, all you're doing is telling the person who they are. And why does that work? Because we get excited. It's all in the subconscious, right? It's not like we see our job title. It's not like we see marketer in the subject line, like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But instantly we recognize, oh, this is for me. And this is not for everybody else. And that's why it works, right? So when Oracle sends this out and it says metrics that matter most to the CFO, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm a CFO. I need to check this out. You're like, that is for me. I need to look at it. I get all of these emails, right? What today's CFO should know. Are you a visionary CFO? And by the way, I'm not a CFO. The best help desk ticketing software and tools for IT professionals. What marketing leaders are investing in this year? Attention restaurant owners, right? If I'm a restaurant owner, it says attention restaurant owners, like, whoa, that is for me. So this is the easiest test and the best way to get a quick lift in terms of engagement with your email. Now, a lot of what we all promote are webinars, okay? We all, look, we're on a webinar right now, right? You're on a webinar right now. And so 2 or 3 years ago, we're in the middle of COVID. Webinars were doing phenomenal in terms of not just registrations, but show up rates. Because during COVID, we were like, what's gonna happen? Are we open or closed? What's going on? But now, okay, there's a little bit of webinar fatigue. And what we all do, right? What do we all do? We register for the webinar, and then we sometimes show up, we sometimes don't. And when we don't, we're saying, okay, I just want to get the PowerPoint. I just want to get the recording, right? We almost do it as I hold on to for later. And we all know that those people that do show up for our webinars, those are really the most active and engaged people. Those are the people that have the best potential in our pipeline. How do we get more people to show up? So here are 3 things to do to get more people to show up that are working right now. Okay, first off, doing a day of send. I cannot tell you how important this is. You have a webinar, okay? Let's say your webinar was today, right? You need to send out an email within 4 hours of the event saying, hey, today's the day. Don't miss out. Doing a day of send lifts your show up rate by 28% by not doing it versus not doing a day of send. It is not good enough to do a day before send. I try to encourage everyone not to just do within 4 hours. You do it at the 4-hour mark, and then you do it again at the 1-hour mark, twice in one day. Yes, it may feel like a lot. It's not. People don't know what's going on. People don't care. People aren't focused on you. People do not remember signing up for your webinar. Okay, they just don't. So if you want them to be there and they are interested, or else they never would have registered, you need to continuously let them know. Okay, another thing, test Fridays for your webinar. Fridays are different now. In the last 90 days, show-up rates for Fridays have increased 37%. You know, Fridays used to be a normal day of the week, pre-pandemic, right? It was like, okay, that's the 5th day of the week. And then something happened coming out of the pandemic where Fridays are now like this like weird day where it's like, I don't want to schedule calls on my calendar. I don't know why, but I just don't. And you're willing to like go get a little more content digestion and stuff like that. And we're seeing that increase. And also there's not enough marketers utilizing Fridays, which makes it a little bit more of kind of like an open land to do stuff. Fast forward a year from now, we're probably going to create our own problem and Fridays will be garbage, but today they're good. The other thing is 30 minutes or less. Webinars promoted as 30 minutes or less have a 31% higher show up rate than those that are longer events in the last 90 days. What that means is not just making sure your event is 30 minutes or less, but actually telling people, listen, this thing's gonna be 30 minutes. Even better when you say this thing's gonna be 15 minutes. Now you might be saying that's too short. It's not too short if you're going to have a really high show up rate and you're going to be able to get out whatever it is that you want to get out. If it takes you longer than 30 minutes to get your point across, you got to go back to the drawing board anyway because you're epically boring. Okay. And it works, right? Why does it work so well? It works so well because, going back to the idea of nobody cares about anything, nobody has time for anything. Okay, they have time to do the death scroll on their social media for hours, but that's not real time. That's like weird time that goes into the ether, right? But when they think about, oh my God, I don't have enough time to go to a webinar for an hour, it sounds like homework to me. But if you market it as 30 minutes, it's almost like, all right, I could do 30 minutes. That's kind of the vibe. So you'll see a nice lift when you promote webinars that are less than 30 minutes. Now, I know this deck is all over the place. Okay, I know these tips are all over the place, and you're going to get done with this thing like, what just happened? What did I just listen to? Who is this crazy person? But this is marketing, right? It's the little things. If I were to tell you, you come to this session, I say, there's 50 billion emails that go out every year, and you should have better content. How does that help you? How does that help you test anything? You need a little test that can give you a little bit of a boost. You do enough of them, and yay, everything is going well. Okay, back to my craziness. The next slide is the most important slide I will show you. Uh-oh, that's exciting. What's it going to be? I don't know. The most important slide. It's the most important slide because it's the word most, okay? This is really something else, okay? The most read, the most downloaded, the most popular. When your content that you are promoting, your offer that you are promoting, it is labeled the most. It is increasing your open rates by 24 to 31%. Why is that? Why do we care about the most read, the most downloaded, the most popular? We share one brain. Okay, what do I mean by that? I was ordering pizza. I have teenage kids in my house, okay? And even though we're in the same house, we all text each other. And I said, let's get pizza tonight for dinner. And so we're texting. And I go on Uber Eats and I send a place to my wife and kids. And I go, let's order from this place. And then my daughter, who's 15, writes back, she goes, ooh, you're disgusting. I said, I'm disgusting. What did I wanted pizza. And my son writes back, who's 17, he goes, Dad, they got a 3.9 rating. Do you want us to die? I was like, what is going on? And that is because all we do, right? All that we do is we rely on the ratings. We rely on hearing what is the most popular, the least popular. This is how we function, right? If you go to Airbnb, are you gonna get a room or a house in something that's like a 3 point whatever? No. Are you gonna order if you're gonna Uber or not Uber Eats, a regular Uber, and the rating is like 4.1? Are you getting in that car? Probably not. You want to live, okay? That's why this works so well. So when marketers say, "I have no new content to promote, I have nothing I can promote," every single marketer on the planet has most. This is our most downloaded piece of content. This is our most watched on-demand video. This is our most popular free trial offer. You have a most and you have a least. I don't care if it's 3 people, right? It doesn't matter. You have a most and you have a least. And you will see this more and more as you go back to your inbox. And this is what resonates with people, right? We want to know what is the thing, what's everybody else doing? I want to do what they're doing. And that's why it works so well. So this is really interesting. This right now is a consumer trend that I think is going to bleed over to the B2B side, which is why I show this slide right now. There's a big consumer trend that in the subject line, showing social proof in the subject line using stars, right? 5-star this, whatever. And when they put in the subject lines, increased open rates by 28%. And no, you're not going to go to the junk folder because you put a bunch of emojis in the subject line. It's not 1985. That's not the reason you go to the junk folder. Don't even get me started on that. You could put emojis in the subject line. So what's interesting is this is doing really, really, really well on the consumer side. And I think in the next 3 to 6 months, you're going to start to see social proofing on the B2B side in our subject lines. It's already all over the place inside of our email messages, right? Inside of all sorts of different B2B, whether you're promoting services or SaaS software or anything else, putting social proofing in your message is boosting performance massively because it's instantly like, okay, fine, this is cool. And you could literally put one testimonial. You should say, this is the best software ever, said Mary. That one testimonial will move the dial. And we see it on landing pages a lot on the B2B side. Single testimonial or reviews positioned near the form submission on your destination page, okay, increases conversion rates by 19%. Because what's happening is the person's getting to that last point, right? They're getting to the point of, okay, should I do it or should I not do it? And it's that last kind of push over the edge saying, you know what? Other people like it too. I'm going to check it out. And none of this is conscious. It's not like they get to the landing page, like, should I do this? And they're like, oh, look, it has great reviews. I'm going to do it. No, it's kind of all you're moving really fast. Oh, other people have done this. It got reviews. There's a testimonial. I'll try it. And you don't need 5 zillion reviews. You literally need one testimonial. That's just as good as 5 billion reviews. Okay, so test that out near your submission and in your creative as well. So I wouldn't be doing justice to any type of marketing session if I didn't talk about ChatGPT for a second, all right? But I'm going to try to tell you something in ChatGPT that's actually useful. So if you haven't messed around with ChatGPT, it couldn't be easier, right? It's free. You go to Google, type in ChatGPT, you click on log in, you're good to go. And you got to spend an hour of it just asking it the dumbest things. Ask it, how do I make chicken soup without chicken, right? And you will see the power of ChatGPT. But what can you do with it right now, today, to impact your marketing? Okay, so call to action buttons. I think call to action buttons are the secret sauce of marketing, of email marketing and marketing in general that we don't spend enough time on that has a real big impact on our marketing. Call to action buttons, you open up an email, right? There's a button in there, a big button, and it says something, right? You're promoting a piece of content. What do you rewrite? We write download. Or you're promoting an event. What do we write? We write register. Okay, it's horrific what we write. What we have found is that when those buttons, and those buttons can be really long, they don't need to be one word. They don't need to be one word. When those buttons state the benefit versus the commitment, we see a 24% higher average click-through rate. So imagine we're promoting this webinar, okay? And you did a test. Some of the buttons said register. The other ones say, I want in, or save my seat. Which one are you more excited about pressing? Register or I want in, right? First of all, I think download and register, I think it's like rude. It's like, no, I don't want to register. Who are you? I don't want to download. Who are you? Right? So stating the benefit is an easy win. So what does that have to do with ChatGPT? Right? What does that have to do with ChatGPT? So here are some prompts that I think are really awesome. Let's look at the top ones first. The top ones are about subject line prompts, okay? So if you go and you go to ChatGPT and you put in rewrite, and then you put your subject line in there, rewrite your subject line to be more suspenseful, but with less than 50 characters. Same thing, to be a question with less than 50 characters, to be funny with less than 50 characters. This will help you to rewrite your subject line in interesting ways. But the one that I really like is the one on the bottom. So if you go there and you're let's say promoting a piece of content you want people to download, if you go rewrite this call to action, download, and then you write without saying download, that's the key part, or register without saying register, this is the output, some of the outputs that you get. Without saying download, you'll say get it now, access immediately, claim your content, all of which is so much better than saying download. So this is a really cool, easy A/B test and a fun way to use ChatGPT. Okay, so let's talk about what's happened in the last 90 days. White Lotus, great show. Aubrey Plaza, awesome. Emily the Criminal, great movie. If you haven't seen it, she's in it. You should watch it. Bachelorette, I'm not kidding, starts June 28th. I'll be watching that. You did not ask, but it is true. Okay, back to last 90 days. Offers. We look at every kind of B2B content author and what is driving the highest click-through rates. In the last 90 days, these are them. Lists, the 7 reasons you should know about this. Okay, the 9 things you need to know about that. Lists are the number one piece of content that are getting digested and clicked on, followed by the most read content, which we went through. And then you have checklists, on-demand video, you're actually doing better than webinars, free guides, blog posts, you go all the way down. If your go-to-market strategy is like an ebook and an infographic, and you think that that's going to win the day in terms of filling up your pipeline, I salute you. I wish you good luck, because that is not easy, right? Sometimes marketers will say, well, email doesn't work for us. I'm like, well, what are you promoting? They go, well, we're promoting a case study. I'm like, well, that's great. Okay. The case study is great if you want way down, really active pipeline leads, awesome marketing qualified leads, but you're going to get like 4 of them. Okay, if you're looking to fill up your pipeline, you want a little more top of the funnel, you got to go with checklists and stuff like that, right? It depends on what you're trying to do with whatever it is that you're sending out. Okay, let's get through. It's funny, when I set this all up, I never look at how much time I have to do any of these sessions because I'm a big dummy. So that's why I'm talking even faster than normal, which is probably a little off-putting for everybody listening, but nothing I can do about it. I want to get you guys a bunch of different stats and stuff and information. So I'm going to rip through some stats really quick so we can make sure that we have time at the end for all sorts of stuff. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Melissa McCarthy, that was a scene, right? Bridesmaids. All right. Let's talk about subject line words. These are the words for the month of June, last 15 days that are increasing the open rate. We look at every single month. What is moving the dial in terms of what are the words that we could put in our subject line that are different this month than last month? And this month, words like Outlook, of course, Chat GPT and AI, you put them in your subject line. It's what everybody's talking about. It will give you an open rate boost. Q4, forget it. Q3 is done, right? We're talking about what's going to happen in the holiday period. What is going to happen? What is the forecast? Invitation. These are the words right now that are trending in terms of performing the best in the subject line today. Yes, little things make a big difference, right? Look at this. I thought this was super interesting. These are emails all from Salesforce, salesforce.com, okay? And every one of these emails is promoting an event, okay? They're all promoting like webinars and whatnot. 2 things to notice here. 1, nowhere in any of these subject lines does it say the word webinar, because the word webinar is actually a boat anchor in a subject line. Okay, what all of them do are 2 things. Number 1, they don't mention webinar. Number 2, they're talking about the topic of the event that they are promoting. These are all events that they're promoting, but the most important takeaway is each one of them start with a number. Each one of these event promotions start with a number. Subject lines that start with a number have a 22% increase open rate. Do not let anybody tell you that putting a number or an emoji or an exclamation point or a question mark or brackets or capitalization or any of that nonsense or the word free, any of that is the reason that you're going to junk. It is not the reason you're going to junk. 20% of all email goes to junk regardless of what you do. I don't care how big your brand is. You go to junk because of poor engagement with your recipients, okay, and poor quality of your sending reputation of your IP address, not because of the words and the characters that you utilize. Don't believe that. That's information from 10 years ago. Okay, other things. When you take somebody to a destination page, okay, great. You've taken them somewhere. You've promoted something. They actually clicked on your social post, your email, it doesn't matter. You take them to your destination page, your landing page. You do not want your standard navigation bar to be there, because what will people do? They will click on it, okay? They will click on anything other than the thing that you are promoting. When you have the standard navigation bar on a landing page, it leads to a 37% lower overall conversion rate. You want to lock them in. You want to lock them in that all they can do, right? It's like Bachelor in Paradise. No one else has watched this show but me, but that's okay. On Bachelor in Paradise, they take all the rejects from the Bachelor and the Bachelorette and they stick them on an island, and you can't leave the island, okay? And when they get there at first, they think, oh, nobody here is really hot. I'm not into these people, whatever. There's nowhere else for them to go. And by the end, like 4 or 5 of these people get married because they're stuck there. You want your landing page to be like Bachelor in Paradise. There is nowhere for them to go except convert on the thing that you promoted, okay? That is the goal. That is a weird analogy. Okay, on the destination page, that button at the bottom, that you're trying, if it said submit, I'm not going to be your friend. The word submit is weird. Okay. I don't know why that's in the vernacular of marketing. It's super weird. And I really hope you don't use it. Okay. When the destination page submission button describes the offer, click-through rates rise by 17%. All you're doing is saying the thing that you're promoting, right? Get the 3 quotes now, start my free trial, get my free demo. Say the thing because you're closing the deal. You're reminding the person what they're about to get. You're like, yes, I want that, instead of submit, which is super weird. We don't want to say submit. Who says submit? I don't know. On the landing page, okay, when you're sending out your email, when you have the same primary image in the email as you do on the landing page, you have a higher conversion rate by 24%. Why? Because we get comfortable. Like, oh, I clicked on this and I get here and you're like, oh, it's the same thing. I feel good. It has to be big, same size image. So the person goes, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I'm in the right spot. And it's all in the subconscious. But just by having the same primary image, you increase your conversion rate. Here's something interesting and super random. Less than 20 characters in your email newsletter subject lines increases your average open rate by 21%. Here's the thing. Email newsletters. A lot of us have email newsletters. I have an email newsletter. We all put a lot of time into our email newsletters. It takes a lot of time to make an email newsletter. And we send it out once, and then it doesn't do as well as we'd hope. And then we stress out like we have to do it again in a week. Oh my God, how am I going to find content for this newsletter? So we need to do everything we can to squeeze out as much performance as humanly possible from our newsletter. So all that time that we put in actually ends up being worthy of the effort. Okay. So the other thing to consider, all right, when you have your email newsletter, do you send it out one time or do you send it out multiple times? It makes no sense to send it out once. You send out your newsletter on Tuesday, okay? And then on Thursday, you take anyone who didn't open up the email and you send it again with the same content and you change the subject line like, oops, I think you missed it. Right? They signed up for the newsletter. They didn't avoid your newsletter. They just didn't care. They didn't see it. Send it a second time. You worked so hard on it. And even better, when you do send it that second time to non-openers, okay, send it at a 6-hour time difference from the first send. So if your first send went out at 8 a.m., try sending out at 3 p.m. Why? Because you know what? People read email different times of the day. Right? I actually read a lot of my newsletters at night. I don't read them in the morning. Some people are morning readers. You want to cater to different ways that people interact with email because that first time you sent, they didn't read it. So you want to try it differently that second time. You know, I mentioned before about emojis. Here's something interesting. Emojis as the first character in your email newsletter subject line increase open rates by 19%. Do you think all of these marketers, right? Do you think all these marketers, and I wasn't like cherry picking, okay? All of these marketers, you think they have an emoji to start out their email newsletter for no reason whatsoever? No, this is the branding of their newsletter. The emoji is the branding, and then they talk about the topic of the newsletter. That is what's working to get email newsletters open right now. And you're like, I'm not using an emoji. They are stupid. Listen, emojis are just graphical ways to get you excited about stuff. Goldman Sachs, potentially the most boring, great company, super boring though, right? They use emojis in almost everything they send out. If Goldman Sachs can put a robot emoji in their subject line, you could test an emoji too. Okay, everybody uses it. I know they're dumb, but if emojis were called business icons, would you try them? Probably. These are the emojis on the right-hand side for B2B that are working the best right now. And if you put a little calendar to start your subject line, it's not like you're putting a dancing face or something. Okay, it's a calendar. It's an icon. That's it. A few other things. When you capitalize the first word in your subject line, it will increase your open rate by 22%. Capitalizing just that first word because it stands out just a little bit. And that is the goal. How do I get my email opened and not everybody else's? That is the goal. No, you will not go to the junk folder. No, you will not get filtered for doing that. This one's really easy, okay? Adding the 3 dots at the end of your subject line will increase your open rate by 27%. You cannot tell me that these subject lines wouldn't get you to open. Our keynote speaker is ... 7 accounting pitfalls to avoid ... Q3 HR trends, ... HR pros should know this, ... Yes, it feels like a gimmick, but you know what? This is marketing. How do I get the person to open up the email? Who cares what's in your email? Who cares what your offer is if you don't get them to open it up? These 3 dots work incredibly well, and it's a worthwhile test. Suspense matters. Okay, this is super interesting to me, at least. We all have the same problem, right? We have a big chunk of our database of people that have not opened or clicked on any of our emails in a period of time. We all want to do the win back strategy. How do I get them back? I need them back. How do we get them back? Right? So I hate, never send me a "we miss you" email. Oh my God, that is so weird. Nobody, you don't miss anybody. Who are you talking about? When you get a "we miss you," it's like come on. I just can't. But what works in terms of a win-back strategy, what lifts engagement by 36%, is a verification email. Yes, verification. And what you're doing is to take people that have not opened or clicked in the last 18 months or 12 months or whatever your number is, and then you send them an email that's all about verification. Are you still with? And you put the company name in there. Is your team still using QuickBooks? ? Is blank still your CRM? Or even the best one is verify your active status. We all get a little freaked, like, whoa, yeah, this is still me. Yeah, I still work here. And then you start rolling with good information again. Verification style emails are the best win back emails to people that are no longer engaged with you. All right, so it's a real cool, easy test. A few things, and then we'll see if there are any questions. All right, a few things. Number one, my team puts on a free conference. It is a virtual conference. It's free. It's a 2-day email marketing conference. It is called Guru Conference. It's in November. Last year we had 13,000 marketers. We have every brand that's going to be there. I'll be speaking there. Martha Stewart will be speaking there. It's free. It's virtual. GuruConference.com. I also have a website that is 100% free, subjectline.com. You can go to subjectline.com, put in your subject line you're going to use. It tells you how good or bad it is. And now we have a chat GPT integration. It will rewrite your subject line for you 5 different ways, leveraging AI. You can check that out. I have a calendar, the best and worst days to send out email. Green days are good, red days are bad. We take into account all the data that we have. These calendars are super cool for knowing the right days to send email. If you want the slides, if you want the calendar, if you want me to register you for Guru Conference, and I also have a newsletter called Scoop that I send out all sorts of tips and craziness and TV ideas, whatever. If you want all of this stuff, just email me at jays@corpwd.com, and I'll take care of it all. I'll get you slides, I'll get you my newsletter, I'll get you the calendar. You'll get registered for Guru Conference, jays@corpwd.com. And the last thing before we do questions, I post a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I want to connect with all of you. Please send me a LinkedIn connection request. I love being connected. I love getting to know everybody. So jays@corpwd.com if you want everything. And now I will stop sharing and I'll take a breath for the first time and see what is going on. All right. Here I am. Wow, that was a lot of stuff, huh? I don't even know. Oh my gosh. Hello, everybody. I haven't seen anything going on, so I could have been talking to myself the whole time.
No, you weren't talking to yourself the entire time, Jay. As a matter of fact, I think we might have reached well over 255 people who are here today. Just going to throw that out there.
Yes, you
boy, thank you for the great presentation packed with email tips. Attendees, if you have burning questions, yes, there are some. Yes, we're going to get to them. But if you have burning questions for Jay, now's the time to send them in using the Q&A. And, of course, upvote the ones that you see. Even if you're not asking, upvote so we can get to those. We can get to those. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me refresh this votes. So at the top here, we've got, Jay, what are your thoughts on email coming from company versus coming from person?
Great question. And if I had more time, I would have gone deep on the friendly from, right? When you send out an email, you have an email address that it comes from. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the from name, right? You can change the from name to anything. You can make it be howdy doody. It doesn't matter. That from name is so valuable, okay? So it can come from person, right? It can come from Jay Schwedelson, or it can come from, Jay at Acme, right? When I say Jay from Acme, it can literally say Jay, F-R-O-M, Acme, or it can come from Acme Events. you want to make sure that friendly from is the start of your subject line, that you're not just sending from your brand. It's your brand plus the offer, Acme events, Acme newsletter. And then you could also use the person's name. If it's, back to your question, if it's a one-to-one sales email that you want somebody to reply to, definitely should come from a person, no doubt. If it is, hey, we want to get this piece of content downloaded, it's going to probably do better coming from some version of your brand. So it really depends on what it is you're promoting. But if you're trying to get an interaction, the person for sure is going to get the win.
Love it, love it. Some the stuff you gave through, I would call it like kind of guardrails. Some people might call it rules. And the question here is, does the target audience make a difference or change the rules? In other words, change the things that we heard today, or is it just kind of a blanket?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's a great question. So I know a lot of what I said. Sometimes when I talk about, people will be like, well, I'm in a regulated industry. I promote to federal government. I promote to healthcare. I promote to, this very conservative type audience. I can't do that. And what I would say to that is, take what I'm saying and bring it into your world. Say, okay, I can't put an emoji of a fire emoji in there, but I could do a calendar emoji, right? I can't do everything he said, but I could do some version of it. And what I would say for any organization that you think you can't do a lot of what I'm talking about, whatever you're being told you absolutely can't do is the thing I would test first, especially in the world of email. There is so much legacy information, okay, about what you can and can't do, that it really holds marketers back. So it doesn't equally apply to everything. What I'm saying here, right? You could be much more liberal if you're just targeting to SMBs versus, federal government contacts. Yeah, you can be a little more liberal on the SMB side than you can Fed government. But that being said, some version of it, you can do all of this.
So good. We're going to keep plugging along. Also, Jay, it looks like somebody has their hand raised. After this question, if you want, we can bring them on stage. They can ask their question. We have the technology, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's do it. Let's go crazy.
But let's dive into this question first, then we'll bring them on stage. How do you expect Apple's link tracking protection announcement to affect email campaigns, Jay?
Good question. So for those of you that are just hearing about this, iOS 17, one of the things that is involved is the potential for link tracking, the ability to have UTM codes in links where you could track down to an individual level, disabled. Okay, the way that they impacted opens or whatnot. The jury's still out on if that's going to have as significant of an impact as we think it might have. So I want to reserve judgment on how bad it's going to be. But from a marketing standpoint, I think we're still going to be able to get that directional information the way that we do now on opens. I think the bigger issue is going to be for things that, if you're buying media, for example, on a cost per click, or if you're trying to track down to an individual level on some of your marketing automation streams, it could potentially be impacted severely, but we don't know yet that that's exactly what's going to happen.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and bring that person on stage and see what question they have for you, Jay.
Hello. Hi, John.
John Lee.
Hello.
Oh, you're muted, John Lee.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. John Lee's there. I feel his vibe, but I don't know what he wants. Oh, there he is. He's live.
I'm sorry. Hey, I really enjoyed this. This has just been so awesome. It's gold, man. It's
Nice.
golden. Hey, I have my own marketing and advertising business, and I have found, I want to know I'm sending emails to the CEOs and top management of these franchise organizations in the food service, quick serve food category, emerging brands in particular. And I'm curious to what days you feel are the best days to get the best open rates. I have found that Sunday afternoon, I think when executives aren't on the phone, they're not in meetings, Sunday afternoon, they're at their home, Peace Square, I seem to get a better response as far as setting up phone calls with me. That's what I want them to do. The call to action is to click here and let's schedule a call. I sent them out Sunday to about about 80 franchise organizations. I got 2 of them set up phone calls this week. I feel that's pretty successful. But I'm curious, what do you feel are the best days to get with top management, targeting business B2B top management. The best days to get opens or a response.
That's a great question, and it's awesome that you're finding success on the weekend, because I think that not enough B2B marketers leverage the weekend. And what you're going to find on the weekend, which is what you did find, is that you will get high, true one-to-one engagement on the weekend. What you won't get on the weekend is the vanity metrics. You're not going to get the overall high open rates, and just some, maybe if you're just kind of trying to get a piece of content downloaded, you may not get some of those vanity metrics on the weekends. But if you're trying to one-to-one and trying to get that one-to-one response, you will get the goal that you have there. What I will tell you is also to look at the time of day. We have seen, too many times people say for B2B, send it out, 8 a.m. or whatever it is. It is a wide chasm in terms of the industries that you're marketing to and when people respond. So, for example, in QSR, in the quick service restaurant business, it's crazy early. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning is when you want to be sending, right? Education, super early in the morning. Construction, we see it actually late afternoon, right? So your industry, you have to really test all sorts of different pockets of time. And depending on what you're promoting, that's the day of the week that I would kind of think about when you're sending. Great question.
Jay, let's squeeze one more in here. I know I'm being a rebel. I know we're going to go over, but one more in here. What is the word count you recommend for an email with one CTA? I'm really interested in your answer for this.
Well, okay, so that's a great question. In general, when you're thinking about how many words should be in your email, you have to think about who am I sending to? What I mean by that is there's two populations of people that you email to: existing customers and prospects. Okay, when you market to existing customers, they care about you on some level. You can be more verbose. When you're marketing prospects, they don't care about you at all. They barely opened up the email and they're barely going to give you any attention. Okay, so if you're not under, let's say, 75 words on your prospect emails, you are dead to them. Nobody cares. Bulleted items, no more than 3 lines in a paragraph, really quick to consume. Like when you get a text message from a family member and you look at your phone and it's a big block of text, you're like, you want to throw up on yourself. You're like, I'm not reading this. Something bad happened. I have no time for this drama. I'll read it later. And that's because they're a family member. If they weren't a family member, you'd never read it ever, right? So when you're talking about email, it can't be this big block. It looks like homework. It looks like a big vomit. So avoid that. Quick, short, that's the secret.
So good, so good. Thanks again, Jay, for an amazing presentation. And thanks again, AirMeet, for sponsoring today's presentation as well. Attendees, we'd love to hear what your thoughts on today's session were. Remember that little puzzle piece, that a short survey is about to pop up on the right side of your screen. Let us know your thoughts. Again, thanks for joining us today. Remember to be a happy, helpful, humble B2B marketing human. And we'll see you again real soon at the next Marketing Profs event. Great job, Jay.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.